Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your Commander-in-Chief here in Abbotsford, BC. That Abbotsford residents, hard-working families of Abbotsford residents, taxpayers, developers, and all businesses will have a police department that they know they can trust, that can investigate, and will charge. I made it clear that the Abbotsford men and women in the Abbotsford Police are going to be gone. They ain't going to pull these connections through the back doors using this company. This ain't something no Canadian can look away from. This ain't a tit for tat. This is very dead serious. It was threats. It was attempted murder. It's organized crime, and it's in the billions of dollars of threats. I made it clear, in my opinion, that the Abbotsford Police are getting their own man killed. That there is too obvious now. Nobody is going to stand by and be pushed or threatened like this with these two-bit tit mouses running Abbotsford. When Henry's son opened the door, that the Henry Braun and his political people, Ed Fast and Mike DeYoung, were cleaning this garbage trash company, the Abbotsford Police, and how them top elite investigators could bellyache through to the Attorney General and the Premier to try to keep this company afloat. No man or no people stand on world social media to beg for help to get the law in. These men that ran this company knew what they were doing when Henry Braun ordered them, an elite mob controlling millions of dollars in Abbotsford and threatening people to control the Abbotsford city. I want to take you back a little bit here and make sure that you fully understand this, that Abbotsford residents and myself are grateful for the RCMP mission, that knew this wasn't a conspiracy, and how many elite assholes in the Abbotsford Police were in Henry's pocket, Ed's pocket, Mike DeYoung's pocket, and Henry's developers. When Darren Braun showed his dad as mayor, and he was the economic development officer in front of his dad, knowing the official community plan to lobby the jobs for his friends and his partners, I made it clear when I come mayor, there is no if, buts, or maybe. No Abbotsford police officer that swore upstairs that's supposed to be an investigator that covered all this stuff, I am going to push for the maximum of the law, show their faces worldwide of who they were, what their positions were, and have them charged to the law. I believe the great George Ferguson, his spirit follows me around every day, pushing me to make sure that this company doesn't have the back doors to go, oh listen, we're all supposed to work together, Mission, RCMP, Langley, and its political friends. It's got to be gone. But we can't just let them flee like we let Donna Macy go. Olenoff made a clear threat to Abbotsford residents and me. Drop the fucking videos against Henry Braun in the city councils in Henry's house, or I will personally bury you. Right now, that officer should have been investigated and charged. The attempted murder on my life in broad daylight, the 911 call, Gertie Purdy's threats, the smashing of my camera in public office, the task force on Councillor Mogil against the South Asian, and then at my house. Make it clear to Colin Watts, I don't know what the hell you think you're doing and whose butt you're licking, but I'm coming, and so is Abbotsford residents. This has gone too far. The leniency of this company, and it's pity that it can do, that it was upholding the justice. It wasn't doing nothing. I want to take you back on a little journey when I learned from Darren Braun. I want to show you it, and then I want to document. Some people say you must be psychic. I said if I was, I could tell you the lotto numbers, but I could tell you everything Darren Braun showed me. This is Little Oak Mall. Remember Little Oak Mall? Where Mike DeYoung came in and told me with his big finger, you cut a deal with Henry. He owns effing Abbotsford. Henry owns Abbotsford. You cut a deal. You don't say nothing that Henry had the council in front of his, up at his house, and you do not say nothing about Darren Braun. You cut a deal. There was no deal cut, thanks to the RCMP. She's on the world stage. I ran a video about 2 years ago. I hauled it down and blocked it, thanks to the RCMP, so nobody could see it. On Ron Funka Diverse, tied to Pacific Peak Homes, Henry Fast's son-in-law, Devin Roy. and diverse. I made it clear what Henry was doing. He was going to shut down the mall, Seven Oaks here, and get it all under the official community plan with no hesitation on high-rises ever. He was setting up the gold cash pot, using the city position to enrichinate him and his bloody friends, and using our police department for threats, but above all, to own the city through elections. I knew when I went on this journey, I told the RCMP, he's going to kill me. That's a guarantee. He's on the thing to kill me or have me framed. And I made that clear with a lot of people on the attack on my life by Abbotsford Police, rigorously, the fines and everything. The RCMP encouraged me to indulge them, take all the fines and the belittling, they're trying to run you out the doors, so we can go and see that it's deliberately done, because we can see through the database your behavior in other cities. We're going to go after top elite investigators that think they were above the law and, oh, you know, I got a position here. We're going to shit kick them, and we're going to drag them before our community like they drag criminals and show this. The garbage with Bob Rich, I showed you on King Haven. George Murray and Henry's son showed that to keep the grant. The Archway Community Services, I showed you, thanks to Darren Braun, the tourism board. This was a ring getting rich, but it had a police department that was getting rich. They tried to distance themselves in order to clean the company. That's not how you clean the company. Instead of taking your task force to threaten me, you should have bring your elite officers to all the witnesses and took statements and charged. They couldn't charge Henry. Henry was too rich, too powerful, and too connected. All about the dikes of money. Criminals deserve to go before the judge, hear all the evidence and all the witnesses, and sentenced. Henry was buying his way out because he thought money. The Abbotsford Police were giving him his way out. They have wrecked their lives. They know, the Abbotsford Police know that I'm coming with Abbotsford residents. They know that it's their only way out is, other police forces, please help us. We're supposed to be buddies. When they walk in the door, you got to spit at them and say, you know, it's obvious on the world stage, the shit you put these residents and Mr. Pelican through, and you failed everything. You even failed and you retaliated and smashing their cameras. You shithole garbage man. The question to this, in my opinion, are they responsible for 90% of the drive-by shootings and the crime in Abbotsford? I believe so. Are they responsible for half the drugs that are here in Abbotsford? I believe so. When you're this far in, you'll do anything. But the attack on a humbled man like Councillor Mogill, who gave his service to the city as city councils to residents for many, many years, is unbelievable. What Henry did with the Abbotsford Task Force in order for him to grab the mayor seat. I wanted to make sure that this wasn't a one-time thing, so I ran for the mayorship with the help of many people to prove out the door that Henry needed to load Ross for these official community plans. 2 years ago, I ran a video here, a little old mall, that Henry approached Blackwood Lumber, Abe, and many other people to buy this land to do high-rises here. It was leaked out of the city by Darren Braun that Henry was purchasing this for Ron Funk Diverse and Ron Funk only. I want to show you something, Patricia Dreesen. I want to show you something, Mark Workentine. That was 2 years ago. I want to show you something. A development sign that's posted on Little Oak Mall if you drive between the old mall, Best Buy, in here. That development sign, I want to tell you this. I want you to take the phone number, 604-854-3343 on that development sign. And I want you to phone that and look at this. It's Ron Funk of Diverse, the CEO of Diverse, and Ron Funk's friends. So let me run you down on why this is taking place. Thanks to the RCMP, Pierre Polliet, Bill Vanderzam, and many, many, many people, John Rustad and everybody. Changing the outcome for me and Abbotsford residents to stand on the world stage to tell the Abbotsford Police, Gertie Purdy, to tell Mike Sir, who fled, to tell Keelan Olenoff, to tell Colin Watts. You're not going to get a chance. Under my leadership for Abbotsford residents and the general public that I worked hard to show and bring this all in on your tax dollars, we're going to go after these guys like none other. You think the guy in the States is doing something with ISIS, what I'm going to do for Abbotsford on the Abbotsford Police. I'm going to tell you, these men that were high up are going to face charges. So the first thing I'm going to do under my mayorship is get an independent audit, a forensic audit, and bring them in that goes after this white-collar crime. And I basically know where it all lies thanks to Darren Braun. And all the decisions Darren Braun rushed, the fast-tracking of all the councillors of Abbotsford First, and even if Les Barkman, one who I know quite well, is involved in these decisions, knowing Henry's son, everything his son had set up with Ron Funkadivers. So let me tell you, the old newspaper site, Henry blocked that guy, jacked that guy out. They hid the development sign on the general public. Councillors agreed with Henry to change the zoning from 200 to 455. The illegal trucks on the road, the moving of rocks on the, you could see it. Then Ron Funk advertising the Vaquero Ranch coming soon because I got it in the bag. Patricia Dreesen votes for me. Oh, you know that lawyer on the city councillor, his name is Mark Workatine, that went to England and allowed Abbotsford First to make sex allegations at the sports centre in Bardi Sandu, called it all out to Lode Ross. Allowed Gabriel, electoral officer, to figure he was smart. I'm doing a favor for Henry to block Mr. Pelican. And allowed Craig Toes of the chamber. I'm doing a favor, I'm blocking Mr. Pelican. He had no idea that the great man of the Mission RCMP said, Mr. Pelican, don't fight with Craig Toes. We want you to just push that avenue and see what you told us. He reacts to that thing for Henry. The Great Toes, the big chamber. Then I want you to. So we outlined the run here, the Little Oak Mall. Well, remember Mike Dion set his signs up in Little Oak Mall with all the financial agents and the sponsors. Henry and the 4 leaders of Abbotsford. This is a well-established group. But let me tell you, this group is backed by the Abbotsford Police. This is the little mall here, and if you come to that development and phone that number, it's Ron Funkadivers. They want a 6-story. Ross is trying to rush everything. Don't worry, council's going to pass it. The same as they did to Cooper Farm when they changed the zoning. So let's take you on a little journey. And then you'll know what collaborating is. Oh, the Abbotsford Police will investigate. Here's where the Abbotsford Police got smacked up their face. Their investigators looked like they just came off of a high. They're coming after us. Make it clear. Listen, Colin, make it clear. If the RCMP have not watched these videos and already went after your guys, Abbotsford residents are aware of the political players that were in the back cleaning. Ed Fast, Mike Dion, the ties to Devon Roy of Pacific Peak Homes, Ed's son-in-law, to their everything. Thanks to the RCMP, it's here. If they haven't started investigating your officers when I come in, that's why an independent auditor is going to come in that deals with this. They're going to go after this white-collar crime. Then I'm going to bring the RCMP in very quickly when I get in here. I'm going to bring him in very quickly. I'm going to go after Gertz. I'm going to go after Keelan Olenoff really fast, because half his time under monitoring was at Henry's house and inflating. We're going to pull Mike Sears back, the police chief, that figured that now I fled from here with Bob Rich. I did you guys all a favor. Remember, I did you a favor. I covered Henry's hit and run. I helped him in the election. I used the task force on Mogel. I used the task force on Mr. Pelican. You owe me. Now set me up in Surrey. The question to Abbotsford is looking at, is David Eby involved in this? Well, let me make this clear to all my viewers, to my federal conservative friends and my BC conservatives friends. There's not one liberal involved in this shit in Abbotsford. It's all conservatives. No liberals did this. It's conservatives. It's a conservative base. It's Ed Fast junk. And it was Ed that did this. Ed figured he was smarter. Ed figured now he retired. When Darren Braun showed me, in order for Ed to get what he was getting, Henry was rushing his news site just off of Downs. When Andy Sadu said my shithole son Dave Sadu blocked you, Mr. Pelican, Dave Sadu brought Ron Funkadivers' whole team into the Catrita newspaper to work the phones to load Ross Siemens in Abbotsford First. In return, Dave Sadu, Andy Sadu's property was sold on Tracy Road and he got a fast house rent. This wasn't favoritism. This is how buddies work here in Abbotsford. This was all under Henry Braun and people that defended Henry. This is where it went wrong. The law should have applied right away when Henry tried to end my life. The law should have applied when Ross Siemens knocked his shithole gas station down and contaminated Michigan's aquifer. The law should have applied when hundreds of people were getting sick on Mackenzie's bog, but their buddies were doing it. The law should have applied immediately on Ron Funk. Ron Funk of Diverse ran Ross Siemens' sign on his job site in order for favoritism. They went here to learn the official community plan to get it. Abbotsford first. Patricia Dreesen, I call people out. Dreesen, you said you call people out. I'll call anybody out. I fight with councillors. Have you stood up to Abbotsford residents and said, Patricia Dreesen here with her old Marky Warrantine, Mark's a lawyer, he does land titles, he should have told you this, that Patricia Dreesen here has got a statement to make. Let me tell you, I want to come forward with the tourism board and how much money they made. She went quiet. She shut her mouth after Rob San Diego's team went and told. We lost the Salvation Army, and that money by Ross and his garbage and all that money for the food bank stuff and this and all this and that information came out of the city. Now I'm telling on Ross. Ross never ran the city. It's all Henry. You could see it. Ross never ran it. But I want to make it clear. The men that are distanced themselves, you don't see them in the newspaper, you don't see them nothing. They're just doing little ads. Abbotsford police saw a butterfly. Abbotsford police are looking at the ducks in Mill Lake. Abbotsford police want to go after the little kids on scooters and give them $300 to $500 fines. We want to buy big GMC trucks. Abbotsford men that worked in that uniform used that company for organized crime. And you could see the outfall of the shame they're in. I made it clear to the RCMP and to anyone, they're not savable. Even though I praise guys like Dix and Kaminsky and Kern, this shithole company knew what it was doing up the top. And Colin Watts figured I'd come in here and when just kick Mike Shearer out and we'll cover it. I want to make something clear to Colin Watts that he took control of this shithole company and he's on the phone probably to David Eby. David Eby, please, David Eby, this is out of control, David Eby. A man's life was targeted in broad daylight to end it. And then a man's life was being threatened, not by gangs, by the Abbotsford police, to be framed and jacked. Elections and everything, and organized crime. It wasn't a conspiracy. It was organized crime that Henry went in with his development friends. Developers up in Augustine, the billionaire was told no. Polygon's got big lawyers. I wonder if Mark Warkentine broke that deal. Mark, this is Polygon, Mark, get me it. And went up there and built in the malls. This doesn't happen in the RCMP. This was private police, political people that went in to use the office to enrich themselves. Henry was the mastermind. Henry got in that car. And today I stand on the world stage to tell Colin Watts, no matter how much you bend over, how much you plead, how much you do, and how much you squirm with your shithole garbage trash man, the number one thing Abbotsford residents did, thanks to the RCMP, is not give that police force any evidence. Not allow you to intimidate. Under the law, we could charge you because the evidence got to come to us so we could clean it for Henry, Ed, and Mike. This was what Abbotsford needed to get above the establishment and kick them police in the face that they can't stand up. Under my mayorship, the RCMP are walking into this town so fast. We are going to have that independent study and we're going to go after the councillors that collaborated to set this up. Right, Ron Funk? We're going to go after this. I showed you the Cacaro Ranch coming soon without asking the community or a proposal that we're looking at it. Started already marketing to do pre-sales on this shit, knowing for certain reason, Mark Warkentine, Dave Lowens, Dave Sadu, Ross Siemens, voter in. And Darren Braun showed me that this was a man owning this town for this development. Then, once we accomplish this for our residents, I want to tell you, Abbotsford, I want to tell you how many people in the RCMP were behind me saying, stay with it. Stay with it. They're all internally fighting like Rob San Diego told, stay with it. if they were encouraging me because they knew that I could go to the public now and get the evidence faster and it could get out. And then they could see the split of Abbotsford police hiding. Look, they're way back here now. Knowing that their first obligation is to defend the company and its values and its man and not allow this attack on them. They couldn't. They couldn't pull to my house. They couldn't fire each other. Oh, look at Gertie Purdy. We gotta keep that dirty Gertie Purdy. Get him in here, wax his head. Tell everybody Gertie Purdy's a high investigator on the team. We can't let that dude go. These fat, garbage, shithole men didn't know a thing about taking statements, following procedure, or doing any police work. Garbage, shithole, trash man that followed the pursuit of, we're in the police business, we're in the police business. There is no if, buts, or maybe. Crime has dropped in Abbotsford tremendously. That tells Abbotsford residents, if you could see, and that is not that the criminals packed up and left. No, they didn't pack up. Henry's still here, and so is Ed, and so is Mike DeYoung. So is Ron Funk. They didn't leave. They're just going to manipulate a little bit better. The Abbotsford police shit their drawers in the man that were in charge. Mike Sir fled. They weren't policing. I made that clear. They weren't policing. They don't know a thing about policing. That's why you could walk in and you could devastate these boys. And their only way was violence. Sympathy, our police force, we can reach out to other police force. Who do we know in the back door? Which politician? It's foregone conclusion is you could see Bruce Bamman, a great man of this community, that went through hell, and Abbotsford residents stood up. The scandal of the manure on Bruce by Henry's friends, and I made it clear thanks to George Murray, of the city manager, who ordered that, and then the political Bruce endured, the stuff that happened to our South Asians here in Abbotsford, our Indo culture, on Councillor Mogil. This was all by the Abbotsford white-collar crime. I want to make sure to Colin Watts that all police force is stopped immediately working with you, giving you leads or anything. I want to make it clear that Mr. Pelican is hell-bent with Abbotsford residents of going after your shithole friend, Mike Sir, and bringing him back here to face charges like no other. To make sure that men that stand in that office are not told, I tell you to lay down. This involves Henry. Don't get charges on Henry. I want to make sure when Mike DeYoung threw an illegal party at the height of the coronavirus with 66 people, including the former mayor George Perry, Marcus Dalvis, Dave Sidhu, to endorse Dave Sidhu on Bell Road, when nobody was gathering, the Abbotsford police were told to lay down Henry. I want to make sure that assholes like this never get away and there's no buddy system. I want to make sure that councillors cannot overrule the general public and go to Henry's house and get it. I want to make sure that people like Patricia Dreesen, who are going to stand up and say, call somebody out. Dreesen, what are you going to do? 2 years ago, I ran that video, thanks to leads by Darian Braun. Henry was purchasing this and setting it up and telling Ronnie, you're so big, Ronnie. Ronnie, you're big. You and Diverse are really big, Ronnie. I want to tell you this, Ron Funk. You know there's a lot behind Mr. Pelican now, more than you could ever imagine. Henry Braun put you in a big, big situation of special favors, collaborating, a mayor ran by Ron Funk of Diverse. Only Ross and his team were allowed on that property. I sat in your office with your project managers and superintendents that didn't know I was running a mayor and made it clear, we got Ross. Ross is gonna win. We only got Ross. All them other shitty people can't run. Benji Soy deserved that chance on that advertising too. Troy Gasper deserved it too. Rhiannon Gasper, who is a BC conservative, was there when Abbotsford First, Ross Seaman's team, said I grabbed Sandy Blue on the whipper-whapper, and I insist charge. Abbotsford police don't know what to do. The chief here was my leading investigator. Slimes of slimes of slimes. These men went out and humiliated residents by, look at it, I handcuffed you. I handcuffed you. I want gangs, police forces, and politicians to see that these men are going to get the same treatment as other criminals do. I want to make sure that Henry Brown's connections, Ed Fast and Mike DeYoung, understand of what Henry did. and understand their oath that they had as an MLA and as an MP, and understand what the Abbotsford Police, men and women, did. The more men that flee from the Abbotsford Police, it means that the more they're guilty, and Watts is trying to get rid of them. That's not the way to do it, Colin Watts. Olenoff faces charges for intimidation, of threatening a court, documents before a courts and videos to drop them or he would frame me. Gertie Purdy's tempted murder on my life to help Henry set it up, and your officers threatening. I want to make sure, under Mr. Pelican's leadership, my run for the mayor, which is coming soon with other people that are running, this will be worldwide, and it'll be on documents and newspapers that me and my team will print to Abbotsford residents to see. That will be done because of what Vicky Hopes was doing for the establishment. When Darren Braun showed me, Vicky Hopes in the Abbotsford newspaper only do this. But we're going to go with a forensic audit, and we're going to get them professional people that go after it all. Then we're going to go after the Abbotsford Police, the men and women that had an obligation, the Safety Standards Acts and that. And we're going to get that money back. We're going to lower your taxes. We're going to go after the 71 million that was cost overruns by Diverse, the insider trading on Polygon. Believe me, there's nobody better to run this ship, to go after Polygon for the hundreds of millions of insider trading on them 3,000 people. I will put it before the court on Polygon, Henry Braun. I will put it there, and I will make sure dollar for dollar, their free speech, their right to the city, Henry was benefiting with his shithole friends and he lobbied it. I want to make sure that everybody in law enforcement understands that Henry went in our city with his punk-hole shithole son and put him in as proving officer, and Ross took over deputy mayor, the position, and allowed Darren to do it. Henry was partners with his son on the sites. I want to make sure that Ed Fast's son-in-law, Devin Roy Pacific Peak Homes, knows what Ron Funka Diverse and his team did. I want to make it clear to everybody, Abbotsford needs and deserves the best, the RCMP. And this would have never happened on my life. It would have never happened on Cooper's Farm. It would have never happened on the Augustine Billionaire. It would have never happened on Councillor Mogale with the task force. No police force would have went and threatened, because the RCMP don't help politicians. They just don't get involved. They know this can. So to Colin Watts, you're an effing failure. You're a piece of shit of society that should have came in here to do a cleanup job. Your obligation under the law was to ensure Abbotsford residents and me, when your man made allegations that this would not be tolerated, that piece of shithole, fat slob that did this, Mr. Pelican, smashed your personal property, he's charged. My sergeant, my staff sergeant on duty did him a favor. He wouldn't push charges. But his staff sergeant, he had the tongue up the backside. And my personal phone, my son bought me for Father's Day. But the speeding, and then, oh, look at this big company. Nobody will challenge this company. We're working with the Attorney General out of here. I'll give you my phone. Colin Watts, you can phone David Eby. Hey, David Eby, you got a position for me. You help Bob Rich, you help Mike Sir. You got something for me? It's breaking loose in Abbotsford. My forensic audit will bring the best in. It'll be the best that comes in here. It will be. This is no conspiracy when I told you 2 years ago out of Darren Brown's mouth. Henry took the official community plan, and he was lobbying for that shithole Ron Funka Diverse, setting up all the jobs to benefit him. Took position to have his son in there and help. Mark Workentine, who was on the police board, came over, went to England. The whole thing is in front of you. Abbotsford City Council, City Hall, and the people in the City Hall that worked so hard with me and Abbotsford residents have made it clear. They're trying to rush it. The councillor's going to vote. The councillor's going to vote. I'm going to bring the best in. Councillor or no councillor, Les Barkman, voting or no voting. This should have been stopped when it goes before council and say, wait a minute, this is all wrong. Henry set this shit all up for his lackey buddy Ron Funk. All the bylaws and the procedures at the newspaper, this is all wrong. And all we're doing is we outvoted the general public, Vicky Hope said, and now councillors approve the shortage. Maybe Ron Funk can call David Eby and say, because I don't think he can fool Bruce Bannon, and say, David Eby, Tell them on the 6-story buildings here, the 2 buildings, there's such a shortage of housings. We're just in the housing business.